All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome. We are here for a special episode, a special conversation with a new friend. We are celebrating the work that her and her team have put out in their brand new book, So God Made a Mother. Leslie Means is here. We're celebrating, and you have,
Yay!
yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the beautiful hardcover. I have the advanced reader copy, which is
Right.
it's not like the finish. So
It's fine, but it's not the hardback, right? Like
it's different. The hardback matters, and
it is.
it's beautiful. So we are
Thank you.
celebrating this message. And if you're a mom, if you long to be a mom, if you know a mom, this book is for them. This book is for you. And I'm so pumped to get to know you because you're the founder of Her View from Home. And
Mhm.
I think if you're a mom, you've probably heard of it, seen some
Mhm.
of the posts. It's just beautiful. And you share my same heart, I feel like, because here at A Wife Like Me, it's not about me. It's not about
Right.
you. It's about all of our stories coming together to share
Yep.
these different angles that we're each walking through, that we each
Mhm.
experience, and then sharing that to encourage each other along the way. So pumped to have this book out. And there's 90 different contributors to it.
Mhm.
Reminds me of our book, Dear Wife. And
Mhm.
because of the different contributors, again, the different
Right.
voices speaking into all the angles. So we're so excited, Leslie.
Yay! Thank you for this, by the way. I love this, and you're right. Whenever I looking in your bio and all your background, I'm like, oh yeah, we get it. Like this is the same kind of concept that these stories matter. That's our base. It's those stories are so important to share, and we want to give people that opportunity to share those.
Yes. Well, why don't you just tell us a little bit about that? Like, how did you start Her View from Home? Tell us about you, whatever you
Oh, okay. Do you want the long version or the shorter?
you go wherever you want. You tell us whatever you want.
Let's start, Amanda. Let's start.
We're gonna
Okay.
be here all day, ladies. Surprise!
Okay. So let's begin. I was this farm girl from South Central Nebraska, and as early as the age of 6, and I would love to know for you too, Amanda, how early did you know that you loved like the writing and sharing stories and talking to people? Because I think I knew seriously at like age 6 that I wanted to do something in that because I would go out to our barn and I'd talk to our barn cats and I'd like have conversations with them. Like I remember even then being like, man, I love talking and I love to hear what other people think. And even as a kid, and that's probably because of my parents. My dad was a farmer, my mom's was a nurse. And I don't know if they just taught me at an early age that even though we were in, small town America, I felt like the world was this big place
Yeah.
and I couldn't wait to learn more about it. And I knew everybody's stories were important even at a young age. And so
Mm.
I went to college for broadcast journalism. So I thought I was going to be this TV girl in New York City. Like that was like I loved my roots, but I was ready to fly. And I was like, I'm gonna in TV, you start small, you work at small news stations, and then you work your way up. That was the goal. Um, I met my husband, this cute guy, in college. We both worked for Husker Vision, so it's the broadcast department of the university that does all the big screens and sports games and stuff. And we got married right out of college, fell in love with that guy, and he actually moved us to Houston, Texas for his first job in the NBA. So he's working his dream gig. He's doing some like video work for the Houston Rockets for basketball, right? Like it's his dream gig. Well, here's this girl who thought she'd be this big city kid. And I was like, this is 8-lane traffic. What am I doing? I didn't have a job. I was walking to Target and I was like just being friends with all the Target employees because I had no one. And it was 2005. So really social media, like that wasn't really taking off yet, the blog world. So I ended up getting my first job in Beaumont, Texas. Fabulous people, but it was an hour and a half away from Houston, and it was a TV job. So I was driving every day, an hour and a half in and an hour and a half back. And it's exhausting,
Mm.
And my husband, again, being the good guy that he is, he was like, I think we need to go back home because in Kearney, it's a smaller TV market. That's where I am now. It's like, we'll go back home and you can get your start there, and then we'll keep, moving our way up. So he left his dream job in Houston to come back to Kearney for me because I started working at a local TV station here. And he didn't have a job right away. So he was like roguing cornfields. So like pulling weeds and things out of cornfields while I was working TV. Like, I'm like, oh man, and that's important to my story because I talk a lot about how, we didn't have any money, and I'll talk about that more on this long story, but I've always had support. And I think it's so easy for people to look at my story and think, oh, that was so easy. Everything was really difficult. But since I had that landing place, that was always huge for me.
Yeah.
I knew I always had my family, and then I had my husband, I always had that support. So we got here, I'm working in TV. I was only going to be here a couple years. And but then I had the chance to start a local talk show and at the TV station. And it was a chance to share stories about the people and places in Nebraska. And so it was great. Like 8 to 10 people would come on the show every day. We'd talk for 5 minutes and then they'd leave. And it was fantastic. So I thought, we like this. We're going to stay. We had 2 baby girls. And then when they were 2 and I think 6 months, I felt like something was missing. And my husband, by the way, he has had a good job by then. So he wasn't still just, pulling weeds out of the cornfield. So on paper for TV, this job looked great. Like, before when you're in TV, and it was before I started the talk show, I was like morning anchor and weekend anchor, and I would go in at 1 a.m. I mean, it was just really hard hours. Mm-hmm. But this show was like, I'd go in at 6 a.m. and I'd get to leave at 1. And on paper, it just looked amazing. But I had this it's easy to look back now in hindsight. And I always talk about God whispers. And I really think it was God telling me that there was more to my journey. This is where I get emotional because, oh my gosh, sorry. Yeah. Because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I was like, there's something else out there. Like, mm-hmm. I am not supposed to just be in TV, which is weird. And I was actually on the show interviewing someone. And then after the show, I got back to my desk and someone had left a voicemail on my phone. That's when you still had the phones on a desk and whatever. And I listened to it, and it was a woman named Jan who said, hey, Leslie, when you get a chance, give me a call. I knew her through the local Chamber of Commerce. I knew her kind of, she'd been on the show a couple times. And before I gave her a call back, I said to myself, wouldn't that be cool if she had a job for me? Not knowing at all that she would. I called her, and that's exactly what it was. She had a job that she wanted me to take. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to jump in. And I started working at the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm this broadcast journalism girl diving into business. And the first day there, you'll find it's common for me to bawl because this is what I do. The first day there, she had me do a Google spreadsheet. Should be simple, but when you're broadcast journalism, I had no idea what I was doing. And I went home for lunch that day and looked in the mirror and sobbed. I was like, God, what did I do? Like, did I just make the biggest mistake? Like, why am I doing this makes no sense. But as life tends to be, I just had to wait and have patience. And I learned the business world, and I met really incredible people. And I actually got a better connection with people in the business community that I wouldn't have had from TV because you had more time to sit and talk to people. But when I was at the chamber then, so I'm learning the business side of how everything works, I missed that TV piece. I missed
Mm.
that creative vibe. And that's actually when I started Herbie from Home. And the only reason that we could get it off the ground, because I had no money, is I actually had two other founders with me at the time. And we won a business plan competition through the university that I found out about through the chamber. And it was $10,000, which was like everything. And then I also would go to local businesses that I had met through TV and through the chamber and ask them to sponsor this website. And they like, it was not even, it hadn't even started. And they were like, sure, Leslie, we'll give you $100. We'll give you $50. I mean, it was just like crazy how it even, got going in the first place. But so that's how the website really started, was that combination of TV and business, which I think now, and it's like, I love telling that perspective, even though it's kind of long-winded, because I just am like, I can see how God has like orchestrated every little step of this journey, and how when so many times I thought, what the heck am I doing? It was all part of the plan, So that's the startup. There's a lot more I could go into, but that's just kind of how it officially got started.
I love that though. And I just want to encourage anyone watching or listening with that. I'm thinking of the things in my own journey, and I'm sure you're thinking of some too yourself, when that exact situation has happened to you where you're like, I think that God is saying to do this, but it makes zero sense. I have no idea why. This weekend I'm preaching, and I don't think I'm going to share it anymore, but I was going to be sharing about how I took this detour, right? I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching on YouTube, but like a detour where I'm like, what in the world? Why, Lord, are you having me quit my full-time job?
Yep.
Makes so much sense that I have the perfect setup. I can work from home, from the farm that we just like, amazing. And you're asking me to, I know you're prompting me to like quit that and then teach psychology, which I will die doing because I have such bad fear of public speaking. What in the world? Like, why are you, I know you're asking me to do it, but it makes zero sense. We need that income from my other job. All these reasons why, like, practically it just does not make any sense. But I yet know that God is asking me to do something. Always trust that. Like, just trust it. Just be obedient to that. And because again, like, you can probably surely see the reasons why the Lord had you get that business experience. Take a little detour here. I'm going to pour into you in this way. It's not going to make sense, maybe ever, but sometimes it might, but this is where you need to be right now. Like this thing, this, whatever task, these people, whatever that looks like, just trust me here. That's so good. And I love it because the story of like the faithfulness of God. Like, here's what you do. And through this, you are going, like, this platform, this Her View from Home, this is going to encourage so many. You have you have no idea. Like, that's what the Lord does with your obedience. And again, it's not going to look like it does for Leslie, right? For you or for me or for her or for whoever watching, listening, it's going to look possibly different, because that's just how God is. And we can trust him with whatever that is. Unseen, quiet, like all the things, all the places.
And I tell our writers that too all the time. I'm like, you guys have no idea who is reading your words, and you never will. But that's like God's purpose of doing that, is just like, you could be helping strangers from across the globe. Yes. And you'll never know, but it's because of the words you shared and the story you shared that helped them. I have one more story about it. Can I share it with you quick? Okay. Yes. So 2016, this is a story. Maybe you read about it. This is my like big time God whisper story. So my business partners had left. I was still working at the chamber, and I was still running Her View from Home. So I was like working at the chamber during the day and Her View during lunch breaks and at night and all that. And sometimes during meetings, whatever. My boss was great. She knew it. She's like, just get your job done, Leslie. It's fine. And I went out to eat with my husband one night. I remember we're having a glass of wine, and I'm looking at him, and he's like, I think Like, I think if you want to make Her View from Home this what you think it should be, you need to quit all your other gigs and go full in on Her View, which is terrifying because, again, we had bills to pay. My husband has a good job and benefits, but not. I still needed to bring in an income, right? And so I did. I took that leap of faith, and we June of 2016, the website was almost completely broke. Like, we pay our writers, which is important, but we had enough money. Excuse me. We had enough money to continue to pay the writers and to keep the website running, but really I couldn't take in much income myself. And then that month we found out we were expecting our third baby. We have a little dude who's 6. And in that moment, I feel like, again, on paper, I should have been so panicked, but I had such a peace, the whisper then, that I was like, okay, it's going to be okay. Like, keep going until you can't. And we gave ourselves about a month. We refinanced our house, so then we didn't have to pay our mortgage for a month. And not long after that, an email came in from a woman who said, she said, Leslie, I've been praying about it, and I think I want to share my story on Her View. And Her View was really pretty small then. We had like 18,000 Facebook followers, and now we're like 1.4 million something. And so we were really pretty small. And I was like, yeah, I would, I'd love to share your story. And it was actually a piece about her friend who had died by suicide 4 months after her baby was born. And we published that piece, and the site was never the same. Like, it just like, all of a sudden the article was just viral and people found us. And then not long after that, a woman actually emailed in and said that story saved my life. And I thought, all right, God, like, I hear you. Like, this is what you want me to do until I'm not supposed to, like, there's so many stories of this. Her View is 12. Actually, it will be 12. I'm like, well, this is like in April, right? So it's every year along the way, it's been really hard, and it's been really good, but I can see God orchestrating every little piece. And I feel like I just will never know the impact that this site has had on women and and all these writers who are so vulnerable to share their stories. Like, we'll never know, but like, God knows, and he's kept us going through it all. So I don't know. I just think it's cool how he just keeps things moving.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
I'm such a mess.
No. So good. It's so good. And it speaks to the purpose of the importance of us being faithful and obedient, period. Like,
right.
to whatever that is, pausing at the grocery store to go over and ask that gal whatever, or just say hi, but because you feel he's prompting you to do that. Texting someone you haven't talked to in 20 years, like, again, it doesn't mean the unseen work, the unseen tasks that God asks you to do are important to him, period. And whatever the results are of that are up to God. But our job is always obedience and trusting that he's going to do whatever he wants with it.
Right.
And that's the beautiful part in that faith walk for us. So how did then God made a mother? How did of the book come then? Like, how did that work into Her View?
Okay. So it's another whisper story. So we have always known, like, our team, we have such a great, like, I have incredible, like, I call their staff, but really, I'm doing the air quotes again, their staff, but their family. Like, some of these women, like, these in 2017 is when I was finally able to hire some help, and they really started with basically nothing, and they just believed in the mission and the project and what we were doing. And so we've always known for a long time, I would say for 6-7 years, that we wanted to do a book, but I didn't feel that whisper feel. I didn't have the goosebump moments that I have a lot with Her View. I didn't know the title. It wasn't there yet. And then COVID hit, and I'm in the bathtub in April of 2020. And I always say that's where all the best ideas come, right? Because it's like you're in the tub. And again, hindsight, I think it's so interesting because everything was overwhelming, but yet we were all shut down. And it was actually quiet because I had to focus on, okay, what's next? And so I'm in the tub and I thought, so God made a mother. Duh, that is such a good title because we have articles on Her View. It actually started with one called God Gave Me Sons, and it went nuts, like just viral. All, women loved it. So then we had so God made a grandma, so God made a boy mom, so God made daddy. Like all these articles were doing so well because it's just relatable, right? It's just good, relatable content. And I thought, that's the book, like right there, that's the book title. And then got out of the tub, told our team, and they're like, yeah, like, man, we're almost like annoyed at the timing because we're like, are you kidding? Like, it's COVID just hit, and that's a great idea. So we
Like,
did the whole, I know, it's like, oh, we got to get to work. But we did the whole thing there. We got our agents pretty quickly and got our publisher fairly quickly and just got rolling. And the book is it's made up of new content from writers within the Her View from Home community. So it was really hard because we had to just we had over 500 submissions. We didn't open it up to anyone outside of the Her View group, and we had to like narrow those down even, and that was really difficult because I mean the stories are just, all of the stories are incredible. But what I love what we did, and I mean, maybe you've seen it too, of how we separated it, how we divided each chapter up. So, it's really it's divided into like, so God made a mother strong. So God made a mother faithful. There's different chapters in each section. So the goal of that is that every mom of any age can relate to the content in these pages, whether you are a mom of teens or a grandma, or you're not a mom yet, or you have babies. I still think you'll be able to relate to the beautiful stories that these women are sharing. And that's the whole goal.
And that's the beautiful part. And because I feel like, again, Dear Wife is similar. It's not just one voice, it's different voices, different experiences, yet we can all relate to them. And encouragement is the word I walked away with after reading. Like, I just, heart needed it,
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful, no matter where you are in the spectrum of motherhood. So good.
Yeah.
It's a good gift. What would you say, Leslie, mothers struggle with the most?
So what's interesting is, since Her View's been around for 12 years, the stories have really changed depending on what's going on. And the last few years, gosh, why does that make me feel emotional? I feel like a lot of us have felt really alone. Which I think, again, is another purpose of what we're both doing here, right? Of like building that community. I feel like that has been a big struggle, that mental health of being alone and trying to find your community and find help. But I also think that even though it's still a tough time and we're still getting out of all the hardships of COVID, I think women are incredibly brave. And I think we are much better at opening up than we were even 5 years ago. Because the stories we share now, people were not writing about that in 2012, 2013. I mean, I even remember, my first daughter was born in 2008, so she'll be 15 this year, and no one was talking about that. Like very, very few people were talking about, postpartum depression and all the hard stuff in the early years. I didn't have teens then, but I sure as heck didn't see anything really on teens online like that. And now women are they're being better about opening up, reaching out to another mom and being like, hey, I'm with you. I've been there. Let's do this together. So even though it's still tough, I think we're better at finding that community now.
And don't you feel, I think of the fear factor that is involved in motherhood, right? The worry, I don't know. How old are your kids now?
So 14, 12, and 6.
Okay. So we have similar ages, almost 14. So 13, 10, and 7.
Yeah.
you really have to think hard sometimes at their
I know.
ages.
I was like, how old are they going to be? Yeah.
But, I feel like in each season, the worry changes, you know? Even last night, we just had a situation where the worry in me, I'm like, "Oh, this is so weird." Like, this is a different kind of, apprehension, a different kind of anxiety within me, and isn't that interesting? And I would have never thought that I would be experiencing this, But that in sharing, in reading, and seeing that I'm not alone in that, that
Right.
that other moms feel like fill in the blank,
Right.
that we're a failure, that our kids are gonna grow up and be jerks, that,
Right.
like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the things. And, to like the antidote almost is like the fact that God gave us such community to live amidst and among, and then to like link arms and hold hands and hug and like, me too, and thank you
Right.
for sharing that. It's just that is such a balm to anything that we're experiencing, and thus
Mhm.
why I love the it's not just one voice. It's we're
Right.
all, and yeah, so I think it's just so important. And I love that I also, right, the tears of like, I think we're just feeling alone. And I feel,
Yeah.
and again, like social media, hello, we're on it all the time, yet we're not. I feel like that's why this is also so important, because when we go on social media, we're not just hearing or seeing. Most of what we see and hear is good, 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 and how to,
Yep.
rock at that or tackle that or overcome this, which is, super can be super helpful too. But then you read like, oh yeah, I worry that my child is whatever. You're like, me too. Like,
I
thank you.
know.
Thank you for telling me that I'm not crazy, like,
Right.
or like that I'm just like not alone in that. And
I
I think
think,
that's why it's taken off. I think. Like, I think
yes.
the vulnerability just is so attractive. And that is what makes us feel connected, when we can
And
feel like I'm seen.
I love that you say that because I think I fought against that for a really long time. When I had somebody I was talking to about it. They were asking me about those early years when I was building her view. And the girls were so little, they were like
Mm,
2 and 6 months is when I really started. And I was like, I'm good. I don't, I've never been a pick up a self-help book type of girl. Like I'm just stubborn and I'm like, I would rather talk to people than like read it from that, which is what I love about So God Made a Mother too. It's more like story help, not like,
yeah. Here's what's
expert help.
Yeah.
Right. But when my girls were little, I was like, I can do this. Like I'm fine. I could do this on my own. And then the person I was talking to, they were like, but were you doing it on your own? Because that's when you were building her view because you needed that community. I was like, oh, I was like, that's what I was doing. Right. I was like, how did I not see that right in front of me? Like I was building the community I needed. And now, thank you too for saying like social media is amazing and the friends I've made and the connections I made, incredible. But I still think the most important work, gosh, one of my really good friends who's the editor-in-chief of Her View, her mom always says, go home and love the people in your backyard. It is so important that we find people in our community, go into their house, sit around their kitchen table, read the stories in the book and talk and share. And it's okay if you don't think or look alike. I still think that you will find out that we're more alike than we are different. And we have the same goals. We want to love our family well. We want to live good lives. We want to love Jesus. I just think that there's so much more similarities than differences. And I hope we're getting better at that. The world for the last few years has been just super angry on all sides, right? And that is sometimes I feel like that is another reason why God was like pushing us to just keep going because we really want to create this safe space where people of all walks of life can come together and share their stories. And I think that's the good stuff. I think right there, it's that
Mhm.
simple, that simplistic life. That's where the good stuff is made.
Yes. Yes. And that's not what we hear. That's not what we do,
Right.
right? Like, so it's just again, so needed, so beautiful. What would you what would you say, or what do you want to say to the mom who feels so overwhelmed and so like
Mm,
barely I hear a lot, like, "I'm just trying to get through the day." Like, I'm just
yep.
trying to get all the things. Like, there's so much going on that I'm, keeping track of in my mind, and all the things that I just have to keep the ball rolling. And, I hear kind of phrasing like, I just have to I by the time I finally lay down and put my pillow on, or my head on the pillow, I feel like then it's just I have to it's almost like this, drudgery of, like, even though I
Yep.
want to be a mom and a wife, I feel like I just have to get through the next day. Like, by the time I lay down, I'm like, "Oh, now I just have to do
Right.
it tomorrow. I just have to get through. I have to push through."
Right.
What would you say to her?
Oh man. Two things come to mind immediately. The first thing is I have, and I'm looking at a sticky note. God, I am just an emotional mess right now. My editor always tells me, she said, "How do you eat an elephant, Leslie?" And it's always that one bite at a time. So whenever I'm overwhelmed, which is a lot, like a lot, I'm
Mm,
always like, okay, one thing at a time, one next step. My dad always tells me, he's like, don't wish away time, less. And it's not a thing to make you don't ever want to feel like guilty for not being in that moment. But I think there's a lot of goodness to be found and discovered if we can take a breath and do one bite at a time, one step at a time. And then it's easier, you can slow down all the noise around you. That's kind of the tip thing. But the piece that I always say and that I tell my kids is a tip that a seasoned reporter in TV told me. God, in 2005. It was my first TV interview. Like I had to go live in the studio. It was about a dog. What something happened about to the dog. I don't know. I was so nervous. I was overwhelmingly nervous. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And this fantastic seasoned reporter took me into the sound booth and she said, Leslie, right before you go on air, I want you to tell yourself you're awesome. And it seemed so
mhm,
silly. At the time, I was like, I'm awesome. Like, what? And she laughed and she's like, just tell yourself that, like, believe it. And I have done that
mm,
probably almost every day since. I have to keep reminding myself, I am awesome. I am awesome. I am loved by God. He made me like this for a purpose. I'm not too loud. I'm not too obnoxious. So I'm not such a mess. I am awesome. I am loved. And I tell my kids that. And now they'll like write sticky notes to themselves, like joking. They'll be like, I'm awesome to their sister. Did you know I'm awesome? And so I want people to believe that too. I think that's where we get in our own head. We try to believe the lies that we're not good enough, that we can't do this, that God made a mistake with us. That's lies. We are awesome. You are awesome and you can do it. You're already doing it and you're an excellent mother. You're an excellent wife. Just keep going.
that's so good.
Emotional mess.
Yes, good. It's so good. I feel that deeply, and I echo everything you said. And it's interesting. I hate that's a strong word because it is true. It's public.
Yeah.
I just,
Oh yeah.
however, the Lord has called me to do that, and along the way, I've really had to wrestle with all of that, right? And a few times ago, right before I was about to go up, I felt the Lord saying, because my fear, my doubt, all of us, I don't care who you are, right? We have fear and doubt that's going to come in
Oh,
and be like, they should be doing it. She does it better. You name
right.
it, right? Whatever. You
Right.
shouldn't be raising those kids. Blah, blah, blah. Like, she
Right.
never messes up like that. She doesn't yell at her kids. She doesn't lose her temper. Like, what? All the
Right.
things that come in. And I remember it was like the song there's like a song and then it's time, right? Or whatever. There's a little bumper.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It was in the song, and I was like feeling all the things like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna pass out.
Crazy nerves. Like, I feel nervous for you. Yes.
Yeah. And I felt like the Lord just kind of just imparting to me, kind of asking me like, Amanda, just be who I made you to be. Like,
Oh, yes.
and that's what I want you to do. I don't want you
Mhm.
to worry about the man twice your age that knows way more scripture than you do. I don't want you to worry about the people who are going to walk out because there's a chick preaching. I don't want you to think about uh, whatever pleasing anybody. I just want you to be who I made you to be and enjoy
Mhm.
being her. And like that was so. I literally felt like the peace just okay. I
I
can do
love
that.
that.
I can
Why
do
does that make me I'm using my sleeve. I'm like
if
it's
you're
so
If you're not watching on YouTube, you need to because Leslie's what going we're using the sleeve for the
I
yes.
think, Amanda, I think the older I get, the more I realize that is all he has called us to do, right? Just be who I made you to be. That is so, I'm going to take that with me too. Cause and even with all of this book press and everything, I'm like, oh, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want me? Because I just say randomness and I'm like, I'm a lot sometimes, but I mean, maybe I guess I'm supposed to be here because I founded the website. So here we are.
Yeah, but and it's interesting. It's like in that lane. I'm super passionate about that. That each of us would be able to embrace all of us, like all of
Mhm.
who God made us to be. Because then it's like then we feel truly like peace and freedom. I'm
Yes.
like, I don't have to put on anything else. That's not
Right.
who you made me to be. I
Right.
can trust that in all of this, my personality, my skills, the gifts, the anything he's given us, that we can trust that. And any weak part of that, because there are obviously, we're still human, that he's
Yes.
gonna show up in that and redeem it too. So like when I do completely lose it or mess up or say I said a swear word once on you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was hilarious, but at this in that moment, I was like, "I'm gonna speak back here again. Oh my god," and like it's like God can redeem that. And literally,
Right.
like, I didn't know that there was a woman there who that made feel like comfy. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
like
Right.
you use it all and even in our weaknesses, it's like, Lord, you make it so good when we make it
Right.
about you and come back
Yes.
to you redeem it anyway. So, like,
Right.
what's there to even
Right. And
like,
isn't it exhausting? It's exhausting trying to be someone we aren't too.
absolutely.
I mean, oh, and then you're right. Then he makes us be it. It all finds a way to come out. What did it come out in the wash anyway of who we are and who we're meant to be? And then when you find people too, and that's another thing too with the website, with the book, all the things I have found the people who truly love me for who I am. And it's really scary because I've had to, because I feel like for a lot of years, I was like, I don't need anybody. I have three older sisters. I'm like, I have my sisters, I have my husband, I have my kids. It's good. But I was still missing that, close friendships from people in our community. And I've had to reach out. I have some really close friendships now, but it's scary
Yeah.
because I had to be vulnerable. And every time after, when we first started meeting, I was like, I'd leave the whatever dinner and I'd be like, what did I say? Like, gosh dang it, Leslie. And now we laugh about it. They're like, oh, Leslie, it's fine. I'm like, I know, but like, was I obnoxious again? Like, what did I do? So when you can open yourself up and be vulnerable to that, which is terrifying because it doesn't always work. But when
Yes.
you can find your people, that's like a whole other start to life too, that I have only discovered at 41.
Yes, I'm almost 40 and I say the same thing. In the past 2 years, I've found my safe it's really safety, I think,
Yes.
right? It's like these are my safe people that I can share
Mhm.
anything with, and they're so
Mhm.
me. And
Mhm.
like no questions asked, and
Yeah.
they're not gonna say or think whatever. They love all of it. And
Yeah.
I'm not too much for them. I'm not whatever for them. And that is a hard and that's a journey getting there to find those
Yep.
people. keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, like
Right.
try again. And be like, I don't think they're quite my people. I felt a
Right.
little pushback when I shared something or whatever. Or they said
Right.
something about someone else and I was like, actually, I think tattoos are awesome or whatever.
I know.
Like
Right.
find people if it takes time to find them. But
Right. Right.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anything else that you want to share about the book, about anything? And then I'll have you put it in prayer whenever. But
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like God was pushing. So the website's incredible and awesome and amazing and all these things. Sometimes I feel like the whole purpose of the website was for the book.
mm,
Um, and I feel like this book, I'm either right or really wrong. I'm like, I
mm,
feel like the book is start of a big brand in and of itself, and a bigger purpose to get people in their communities around kitchen tables eating those casseroles. Do you say casserole or hot dish?
hot dish.
Yeah, I know. That's what
Minnesota.
it's casserole. I know.
I knew I was going to get pushed back. I said it
I know.
hesitantly. Hot dish.
That's what my editor. She's from North Dakota, and so Leslie. We agree on a lot of things, but hot dish and casserole, right? There's some. But anyway, the whole purpose of that. Sometimes I feel like I don't know. Like that is the goal now. Like that's the next big step. So I loved what you had said earlier of just being obedient, trying to be obedient, figure out what that means. And then God's gifts will be shown. And it's just kind of incredible too.
Yes.
Scary, but incredible.
Yes. Well, ladies, you have to get the book because it's so, and Mother's Day is coming up. You guys,
Yeah.
it's
It's perfect.
Can you show the hard copy again?
Yes.
This is pretty, but it's just different. So you can see it's hardcover. It's beautiful. It's got over 90 different contributors in the book. So you're getting different angles and stories and encouragement, and they're beautiful short stories to like, come on. So a gift. So God made a mother, tender, proud, strong, faithful, known, beautiful, worthy, and unforgettable, just like you. So by Leslie Means and her team at Her View from Home. So, so beautiful. We'll link it and we'll link all the things in the show notes and then in the comments. But would you mind praying over the wives, mamas?
Yes, I could do that. God, oh, thanks. Thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity. We're so grateful for you. Please remind us to just, whenever we don't know what to do, we don't know the next right step, to know that you have purpose in it and that you are leading us there, even when we're confused, even when we're often like, we don't know what we're doing. We just trust you and be obedient to what you say, and that you'll find a way. You always do, of getting us to that next step. Thank you for reminding us that we are all so awesome in everything we do. We are awesome moms. We're awesome wives. And you made us perfect. Thank you for that. Amen.
Amen.
I was just an emotional mess.
It's good. It's so good. I love tears here. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. Leslie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for this.
Thank you for all of your work at Her View from Home, for putting this beautiful project together. I know it's a lot of work. And
how do people do this, Amanda? I mean,
I know we were talking like it feels like you're having a baby. It
does.
Even the emotion, even just all of it, these weeks leading up. It's officially released on April 18th, which is probably when you're going to hear and watch this and this episode. But it's like a baby. It's so beautiful and big and scary. And so just again, we're celebrating with you, all of you. And thank you for writing. Thank you for your obedience. So we're pumped. And just thank you all, ladies, for being with us, for watching, for listening. Share this with a friend who needs to be encouraged, who's a mama. tell her you're proud of her and that she is awesome. Or just say it to yourself. Look in the mirror
Yeah.
and say it to yourself. So thanks again, Leslie. And
Thank you.
we'll be back next week for an all new episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.